Okay, I'm going to do this video as a direct comparison to ClimateGate. And here we go. ExxonMobil's deception dossiers. Internal company and trade association docs between lots of companies. And memos acquired through lawsuits, discovery processes, Freedom of Information Act, or just plain old leaked. Global warming alarmists and their allies in the liberal media have been caught doctoring the results of widely cited papers asserting there is a 97% scientific consensus regarding human-caused global warming, and misclassifying papers of some of the world's most prominent global warming skeptics. This is like the joke on The Onion. Did 5 million people really visit the Holocaust Memorial? I'm just asking questions. Making fun of this moving the goalpost, straw-manning bullcrap. So let's cover this really quickly. Why would you decide the assertion that 97% of the scientists that are climate scientists, that are connected with learning about the climate, it's not that they have an axe to grind, it's that they have to learn things about it and figure out how climate works, that 97% of them have come to the conclusion that we have damaged this planet, and this is in defiance of all the industries that are affected by that. I'm not going to misdiagnose you if I'm a doctor just because you don't want to pay the bill for getting medical work done. I'm going to give you an accurate diagnosis and then we go from there. Not, well, give me the cheap diagnosis because then I can afford it. That's stupid. Will they have a bias and make a bunch of money? No, actually they don't make massive amounts of money doing climate research. That's not really a thing. Most of these people are college students. They're learning climate modeling so that they can eventually work someplace making a better version of the piece of software we use to predict storms and stuff. They get money from that, but it's basically like designing apps. And I'm going to be really blunt with you guys here. ExxonMobil and the others have been caught red-handed manipulating stuff, lying, or just fudging it in very, very overt ways. No, let's not use the same level of critique we use for scientists here. Okay, the assertion about ClimateGate is they adjusted things to make it look like the oceans are warming. No, they threw out data that was inaccurate, and it just happened to show that it was warming. Every scientist on the planet would love to find out they're just wrong about this, because then we don't have to do a damn thing. They can go off and be lazy and design hair care products, or really make that space alien ship, or just go work for Elon Musk and be done with it. Even though if it's not related. Don't you think they'd love to have something better to do? Well, actually, most of them just study the climate. They're trying to figure out how the world works, how to be able to. The dream for most climate scientists is being able to predict weather accurately without having to crunch a shit ton of numbers. They want indicators like, oh, if the wind blows this way and it's this temperature, we know it's going to happen this way 50 miles. If we could just do that reliably, we wouldn't have to use climate modeling. We would just use indicators. Canary in the coal mine method works better because it does. They can't do that. It just doesn't stay consistent enough. It's too chaotic. So they have to study it. But anyway, here we go. Is there really 97% consensus? Yes, there is. Because they are the ones who did the exam of the subject. And then global warming denialists want to include everybody who's literally, on paper, totally factually bought and paid for by oil companies and coal industry people. They wanted their own, they didn't like the results from science, so they wanted to have their own alternative facts. Don't want to believe it? Okay, well, it's the same argument that's being made about the climate change scientists. It's all Al Gore's fault. Let's focus on stuff. It's like yelling Hillary every time Donald Trump says something stupid on camera. It's a dead giveaway that you have a bias. A lot of these climate scientists are trying to study climate so they can, well, they would like to take advantage of it. Not necessarily manipulate it, but let's say, oh, I don't know, tow an entire freshwater iceberg somewhere and let it melt and provide water someplace and make money. Logistics of that should be figured out. But anyway, next assertion. I'm getting to a point. Sorry, WAPTEK, it's about history and evidence, not failed climate models. But they didn't fail. They were accurate. The ones the oil industry put out didn't work. except for the ones that they did a long time ago that you're going to have a hard time finding, that they bought and paid for and found out it didn't say what they wanted to, so they shit-canned it. One of these groups is actually suppressing results and suppressing science. You are just a useful idiot to the academics and global politicians. Globalists. Let's invoke that meme. It'll make people twitch. Come on, trigger warning, too. Who have stolen billions. Right. It's a big business. Telling people they're wrong. Oh, wow, I'm floating in it. Like a turd. In a punch bowl. Fortunately, few are listening to you. That's not what happened over the last... I found out why this person posted that. I finally looked at my page and I'm like, why has that video got almost 70,000 views in one day? So if anybody's curious, one of my videos got a ridiculous amount of views. So some of you might be watching this channel for the first time simply because you saw that video. Hi. I do this I'm here all week. Here we go, next. Oh God. Scientists confess global warming is a $2 billion scam. Right. That really happened. Okay, and when I look it up, I find people making the assertion and not really providing any real concrete evidence. Well, scientists confess. No, 5 scientists who were bought and paid for by the oil industry, who were caught later being paid by the oil industry, actually specifically big coal. Scientific opinion on climate change is influenced by funding and political factors. You're complaining that they won't take your damn bribe money and say what you want to say. Questions whether scientific consensus on global warming exists. So if it exists, you'll just say they're bought and paid for. Next. 2013, after shareholders decided to have emissions reductions, CEO Rex Tillerson asked, what good is it to save the planet if humanity suffers? No, humanity isn't suffering by you reducing emissions. You're suffering, Rex, because you're a rich bastard that doesn't give a shit if this planet goes to crap. Fudge you. Yes, that's worse. I didn't forget the gravy. Next. 2015, Exxon noted that if carbon regulations became a requirement, the best approach would be the carbon tax. So they could keep doing what they wanted to, they just had to pay the government. Therefore, creating your $22 billion scam you're talking about. They would rather pay the money than simply not damage the environment. Or we could all go out and plant 200 trees each. One of these doesn't require any government regulation. You just have to get off your dead butt and actually plant about 200 seedlings where nobody's going to touch them, and make rules that say, you know, you can't touch those. Those are to help the planet heal. You just want to play with a carbon tax argument. ExxonMobil in 2016 accused the Rockefeller family, because you all memed it, a longtime opponent, having track records of research funding on climate change. Yes, the Rockefeller family is not scamming you for money and dumped a bunch of money into, according to Exxon, into funding climate change research. This is the assertion by ExxonMobil in 2016. So no, it's not your tax dollars. The Rockefellers are doing something evil. They want to find out why the penguins are unhappy and why polar bears don't have ice. Your meme is fail. And they masterminded a conspiracy against ExxonMobil. No, what happened is your memos got leaked because you idiots made memos. If you're going to do something underhanded, like run a grassroots thing you cooked up as AstroTurf, if you're going to go out and do negative campaign ads, if you're going to go out and literally pay for study after study until you get the one you want, and pay these people the money you claim the others are getting, if you're going to do this shit and get caught, the only thing you can do now is bitch because you got caught, right? Double down mode. We didn't reach those conclusions, nor did we try to bury it like is suggested. ExxonMobil spokesman Alan Jeffers tells Scientific American. This is something that someone felt that was the only thing that should be mentioned, so I'm going to do this for them. I don't even know if this is accurate. The thing that shocks me the most is that we've been saying this for years, that we have been involved in climate research. These guys go down and pull some documents that we made available publicly in the archives and portray them as some kind of bombshell whistleblower expose because of the loaded language and the selective use of materials. Counterpoint. You got caught spin doctoring things and you're pissed because you made them public? No, they weren't made public. They were acquired through court cases. You didn't have a choice. Discovery process. The only true statement in your research, they did nothing wrong, is the assertion I'm being given by a viewer. No, that's the assertion of them trying to spin doctor. They're spin doctoring. They're playing damage control. You wouldn't accept that if Hillary said that about her email server, if Obama talked about his birth certificate. You will not hold people to the same standards you do you people you don't like. Why are you kissing a mega corporation's ass? Are they giving you anything? At least say you're a shill. Why? It's not exactly the secret that oil companies have been studying climate since the 1990s, before that. And they buried every result that didn't give them what they wanted to hear. They're very much aware of the damage they're doing. And they didn't do anything to correct it. And every time somebody brought up something, they would demonize them, get dirt on them, and screw with them. They are literally guilty of the conspiracy theories you claim are doing. Flat guilty. Caught. Done. And then they do this backpedaling. Gigantic problem. Meanwhile, all of your proof that climate change is being a manufactured controversy always falls apart if someone studies it long enough and finds out, what are you referring to? Oh, it's this memo. What memo? That one. You look it up, it doesn't say what you're saying it does. One group of people actually is basing stuff on what they find that is really provable. The other group just makes memes and tells you to shut up when you want to look up something and get mad at you when you say, I want you to prove your point. They should all deny something that is not true, but not all of them can be that smart. The big lie, of course, is that only a tiny minority of Exxon employees got hoaxed by the pseudoscience of the climate scam. This is mostly fake news you posted. No, it fucking isn't. It's so convoluted, it doesn't reveal what Exxon really found out with their research, which is that GHG warming is bunk. No, their research showed that they were causing damage to the environment and that it was escalating. The research they paid for, and then they suppressed it. Complete and utter nonsense. They came to the same conclusion that climate scientists did. That the Earth is warming. It is almost exclusively caused by us in some way because it matches our behavior on this planet in a curve. And it was eventually figured out it's carbon dioxide primarily. Because, well, it's a tiny amount of gas. Yeah, but you're changing it by factors of like an increase of like 10-20%. It's going to have a bigger effect. It's going to amplify that effect by that percentage. Well, let's quibble about things. No, let's not. What is the conclusion and consensus of people who study the environment and study climate? The consensus is hovering around 95-97% of them agreeing that Exxon's wrong. Why are you backing them? What are you getting out of this? A contrarian thrill? An argument on the net? Telling me I'm an asshole? Okay, fine. That's not going to fix whether or not it's raining right now. It's not going to fix whether or not the temperature is the wrong scale this year in my local area. Well, you can't use that to decide what global warming is. Then you can't do it when you do it. Every time there's a freaking blizzard, you're not allowed to say that disproves freaking global warming. Shut up. None of you people out there, including it's on both sides, none of you people ever post any facts that you experience that aren't just poking at each other. Look, we're rats in a cage. Can we come to a conclusion that maybe that's not going to work for the billionth time? Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with it.